Hello friends. In my last video I was talking about JWT authentication. We saw how to create register, how to log in, and then we saw how to access protected routes. And for doing so we saw JWT authentication was making use of decode access token. And finally we also saw the serializer providing us the data back, and thereafter we were able to access different protected routes, right? In this particular video my focus would be on permission. In my model I said that there are two types of users, professor and student. Professor is authorized to create courses and student will be able to enroll those courses. That means professor holds the permission to create the course, while student can only get the access of those courses. So let's come to my course module. Course has a title, course has a description. Now the course will be registered by a professor, and that's where the foreign key comes in picture. Okay, so what foreign key will be doing? Foreign key will get the data from the user, because after all the user belongs to the user model, who would be a professor. So it is limited to the choice based on the role. So the role which I have got has to be a professor. So then only the professor will be authorized to do whatever work the professor can do. So the professor can create a course, and it will be done by a professor. So together, suppose Professor Peter is able to register a course called Java. So this combination, the Java is the title and the Professor Peter is the professor name. These two things together will be one unique course. So that means the same professor cannot create the same course once again. That has been restricted, and we do this restriction with the help of the meta class. Okay, so one professor can create many courses, but once a professor creates a course, the same course cannot be created by the same professor again. So that's the restriction which I have kept inside the course part. Okay, great. So let's move on to the student part now. Well, the student will belong to the user type student, because the student comes from the user, right, over here. So that's the reason I'm saying again it's a foreign key with the user, and it limits to the choice role student. Great. The student will be able to access the course, so the course will become a foreign key over here. I believe you know that on delete what it does. On delete model.cascade means if I remove the course, automatically the associated entry in the enrollment will also be deleted. Okay, that's how model.cascade work. If you don't want that, in that case, suppose if you want that I will delete the base, but the derived should not be deleted. First the derived should be deleted, followed by the base. In that case we have to go for models.protect. Okay, so that's where the attribute changes, and that's all in context to enrollment, in context to enrollment table. So a student will be have the role student, and the student will be able to access a course. Great. Now the same thing like what we have done over here is unique together is a particular student can enroll for the particular course only one time. Suppose there is a student called Suzanne. Suzanne has enrolled already in Java. Suzanne cannot enroll for Java once again. That is not allowed. So that's where the meta class comes in picture. Okay. So we saw over here the attribute limit choice to based on the role feature. Okay, great. So that's how the model is going to work on. Now let's come to my urls.py. How do you access the URL? Well, for that reason what we are going to do over here is let me take you to my view.py first, then it will be easy for you to understand. I'm going to give a call to my model view set. Okay, if you're giving a call to the model view set, then the benefit which you will be getting is that you don't have to create custom routes. That route will be created with the help of default router. So first you create the instance of default router, right, what we have done over here. Then you're going to register by the endpoint called course, okay, and you are going to give a call to the class who is inheriting the model view set. So this class is inheriting the model view set, so I'm giving a call to the class right over here. So on doing this, what happened is that you will be creating custom routes, which I will show you, don't worry. Now how do you access this route? For that reason I have added one endpoint over here, that is by the name called API slash. So that means my project urls.py has got, let's come to my project urls.py. Here I will be again accessing my account. So from account everything is happening, so I will go to account, because all this thing is present in my account app, okay. So I will first route account followed by slash API, that means localhost colon 8000 slash account slash API slash courses and its corresponding routes. That's how it's going to work. Don't worry, don't get confused, everything will be clear to you. Okay, so do you think these are protected routes? Of course they are all protected routes. So let's go to my model view set from the course view set that is inside this view. Look over here. At first what I'm doing is that I'm collecting the data from my course module. So once I do this, that means you already have got one route been done. Do you know what route? That is, let me take you to the course, and by the way, these are all protected routes. As you see over here, see, authentication class is JWT, permission class is authenticated. So that means you have to use access token, refresh token, then you have to decode them, and then you have to successfully logged in, then only you will be able to access any of these endpoints. So that means I have already logged in. Did I logged in? No, in my last video I have gone for sign out. So let me log in again. So as I click on this, yes, Peter has already logged in. So let me copy this and let me show you who the user Peter is. So let's come over here. This is my account access. All these things I've shown in my last video. It's just a mere recap. So it is a professor. Great, it is a professor. Okay, and this is for logout. Logout I will do later on. So now let's come over here. Let's come over here now, and let's go for accessing the courses. So as I said, this is my endpoint. So as I said in this particular line, when you are giving a call to this course.object.all, automatically one endpoint gets activated. What is that endpoint? That endpoint is the following endpoint. Let me reduce the width so that I can show you simultaneously. Yes, so look over here, the following endpoint comes in picture. That is localhost colon 8000 slash account is my base. API I have added over here. As you can see, API is over here followed by the courses. That what you are seeing is already got activated. So it's a get request, so whatever courses I have registered, that will be visible. So let me take you to my model to see what courses I have registered. So here is my courses. Look over here, these are the courses, 4 courses I have registered, their description, and these are all active courses. And who has done the registration? These are the professor ID. So that means ID 3 and ID 4, these are professors. So let's go to the user and let's see their ID. So 3 and 4, so 3 and 4 are professors. So Peter and Kabir, these are professors, exactly. So that's the reason you saw 3 and 4 is a professor. All right, okay, great. So let's get back to now. So this entire details I would love to see, and that's what will be possible just because of this particular line. And the endpoint is the following endpoint, but again you have to log in because these are all protected routes. So here is my access token. So let me copy this access token from here, and let's come to my route and let me put it over here. Okay, and this is the route that has been provided by the default router. So this courses is what I have mentioned right over here. as a courses. So localhost colon 8000 /account/app. Account is coming from my project, app is giving call to route. And now let me show you all the information about the courses. Let's click on the send button. As I do that, you get to see all the courses that has been registered. Just now we saw in our database there were 4 courses: data structure, C for beginner, C++, and Java. And that's what you are seeing right over here: C++, data structure, C for beginner, C++, and Java. So you saw how effectively default router is doing the magic. You don't have to create any separate endpoint. Automatically the endpoint is getting created just because you are inheriting model view set. So from model view set, automatically this is getting executed. Okay, that's really cool. So that was the first endpoint we have gone, and now this endpoint which is been provided has been passed to the course serializer. Otherwise, how will you see the data in the form of JSON? Because you are seeing the data in the form of JSON response, right? So this is the JSON response which you are seeing. So for that reason, this information was forwarded to the course serializer. So it brings us right over here. So we have got the following details, that is ID, title, description, professor is active, and that what we saw: ID, title, description, professor is active. So that means after you have done the ORM, you get the raw data, and that data you are passing it to course serializer, who is inheriting modern serializer. And what is doing, it is just showing me those data. Okay, and over here just take care about these data is been mapped with this particular field that is written over here. Okay, so as you can see, what is this parameter all about? Serializer the string related field read only equals to true. What does this mean? If you look at the output here, you are seeing the professor email ID, right? You are seeing the professor email ID. But if you go to my table, do I have the professor email ID? No, because my foreign key, if you come to my model, if I come to my model, that it is based on user. So automatically foreign key is user. That means this is based on the ID. So user professor underscore ID will be the attribute. That what it is, professor underscore ID is the attribute. So I'm going to get ID, but I need to convert this ID into something that is unique, that is email, right? So for that reason you are able to see this email, but how exactly it is getting mapped? And that is what been done by the serializer. So what it is saying is serializer dot string related field. Which one is string related field? String related field is this one. See over here I have written the course name. The string related field is course created. So over here the related field talks about this one, course created. So who is the user that is creating the course? That is the user. The professor email ID eventually comes in picture. That's the reason why we are writing this one, so that we can get to see the email ID of the professor. Okay, otherwise you will just get only the ID, not the email, and if you get the ID you will not be able to understand them perfectly. So there were 3 courses created by the professor Peter, which we saw right over here. See, third, there are 3 instances for the ID 3, and the user is, this is the ID 3 is for Peter, and the ID 4 is for Kabir. So that what we saw right over here. Okay, so last one is Kabir, and that's what we are seeing over here. So that's the reason why we have to pass on to the serializer to convert this data and get the data back. Great. So that's how this particular thing is working. Again, authentication JWT, you have to give the bearer token, which I have already given, and you have to get yourself protected. I mean, you have to get yourself authenticated after giving valid username and password. Because of the access token, authentication is also working. Done. So that was the portion of get user access. I mean, get access to all courses. Now we want to create one course. So how do you create one course? Well, by default, model view set comes with this method called perform create. By default, create method was there, but perform underscore create method has been introduced inside the model view set. What this is going to do and why it is required? It is required because we have got the permission involved over here. We have to check the permission, right? So for that reason, after we have done the serialization, that means after the serialization is done, so we got the user information, that is the professor. That professor information comes over here. So the user who has logged in, that means the user who has provided the JWT token, I'm getting the user access. the user access will give me the role. I'm going to check that whether it's a professor or not. If it is not a professor, in that case this role will fail and you will say the professor only can create it. Right now I've logged as Peter. Peter is a professor, so he can be allowed to create. Okay, that's what we will see. Now if any courses is already existing, we are checking the title. If it is duplicate, then this will be nullified, saying that particular course already exists. So we can see over here that Professor Peter has created a course called data structure. So URC for beginners. So we cannot recreate that course again. So then it will be it will show that creating this particular course is already been done. Okay, and that's how you are preventing the thing. And next, over here, if it is already exists, sorry, here you are inserting the record, but before you insert the record you are checking whether that is there or not, and if it is saying that if it already exists, then it will be terminated. It will be terminated right over here. And if it is not existing, then we are going to save the data and it will be saved by the user professor. This is where perform underscore create comes in picture. So perform underscore create would ensure that it will be saved only by the user professor, not by any other user of the type user. Okay, so as you can see over here that we already got the request. So let's try to add a new course. So let me come to this and let me open my create. So as you can see, this is the API courses. So this is the route that will allow me to create a course. Okay, so already we have a course by the name called data structure. So let me copy this. Let me try to recreate the same course with the title, and who would be the one, Peter, who has the professor right now. Let me copy these and let me come over here. Let me go to the header. Let me paste the token right over here. Okay, great. And let me now come to the body and let's try to save this one, which has already been saved, and it should not allow me. See, course with this title already exists for this professor. This is what I was saying, that course this title already exists for this professor. It is already existing, so that is not allowed. So now we will go and save correctly. Rather going for data structure, we will say that suppose JSP. So I want to save the JSP, mastering web backend, just let it be like this. So now if I go and click this, as I do that, see, the course gets saved successfully. ID is also there, JSP description, who is the professor who saved it, and it is active. This whole information is coming, and this whole information is coming how? That means the moment when we are saving, we are doing the serialization. Remember, so this serialize, let's come to serialization over here. The course serialization has been done. So the user input has been passed to the course, and from there we pass to the let's come over here again. Yes, so once we are doing this, we are performing one validation over here, that is, this course can be saved by the professor. Right now you might be wondering that do the student has got this privilege or not? This you might be thinking, right? So how do we ensure that the student is not allowed to access this endpoint? Right, so for that reason, if you look over here, if the role is only professor, then only the course can be created. So if the login user is not a professor, then this role, this will not work. Okay, so let me try to show you even that also. So let's do one thing. Let me now log out from this. So let me copy this access token again. Let me copy this. Let's come to my logout route over here. Let me paste this. Very good. Let me click the send button. Yeah, it's a logout. Great. Now let's log as Suzanne. Suzanne is a student, SUSAN, So let me log in. As I do that, I get a new access token. So let's copy this, and let me copy this again, and you want to check whether it is actually a student or not. We have this route, we paste it over here, click this and see Suzanne is a student. Great. Now let's come to my login part. Let's come to my header, sorry, not login, registering part of the course. Let's paste it over here. Now when Suzanne try to register, what will happen? If I click this, it will say only professor can create courses. The reason is, as you logged in, as we got the request, the user role is there, and we remember that in our model, if you come over here, if you come to the user, we have a attribute called role over here. So from here we got to see that this is not a professor, this is a student, so naturally you will be denied to get the access to this course. I mean, you cannot register this course. Got it? So perform_create is verifying the role as well. Great, isn't it? That's really good. Okay, so that's how perform create is working, and see how the endpoint got created with the help of default router. So help of default router, this endpoint got created. So that was the first function that got executed. So that's how this route got created, and I'm not registering this route. It is coming from the from whom? From the default router. Okay, let's good. So now we will go, and let me save this, let me close this. Okay, now we will try to perform update. So edit a user, only the professor who created can update it. So here is, okay, one more before that, list the courses that has been authenticated. Yes. So my courses. So what I want is, I want that when I'm logging in, when the professor is logging in, professor can see only those courses that the professor himself has created, not any other professor. Okay, so you have to see only those courses created by the professor itself. Got it? So how do you do that? So for that reason we have a decorator called action. So with the help of action you can evaluate. So over here, see, I'm writing default equals to false. It means that in my route I am not going to pass any ID. So for that reason default equals to route is there. What type of request is this? It's a get request. And in my endpoint I will be adding extra path that is called my courses. Permission classes should be is professor. That means if I come to my permission classes, which is the custom class, custom permission class inherited from the base permission, here we are checking that firstly the user has to be a user, and user has to be logged in, and the role of the user should be professor. That's what I'm saying. So permission underscore class is this. So when I will hit this particular route my courses, when I will hit this route my courses, it will first check whether the user is a professor or not. If the user is a professor, then it will go and check that the courses belongs to that particular user or not. Okay, so once that courses is there, then it will go to get serialized, so that I get the data in the form of, no, rather than a Python dictionary, it gets in the form of JSON, and that will be forwarded back to the postman, right? So that's how this is going to work. Again, this is a protected routes. So let's come to my thing, and this time I'm going to go for which route? My courses. So here is the route called my courses. So look at this endpoint, minutely watch this endpoint, how this path goes. Localhost colon account is my project route, app is my app route, courses, this is what I have written in the URLs right over here, courses, that's the reason why. And I have added extra extra path, you can say. So that is my courses, which you can see right over here. I have added extra path my courses, and I'm not passing any ID. For that reason it is false, it is just false. Great. Okay, that's good. Now I need to provide what? I need to provide the login credential in the form of token. So right now who has logged in? User has logged in, student has logged in, so I need to log out from this. So let me take this one, and if you try to access this, will it work? That also you might think. Okay, let me go and show you that. So this is a student, so let me put this and let me try to access this and see you don't have the permission to perform this action. Exactly, you are not a faculty, so you're not a professor, so you don't have this right. So let's come to my logout and let me log out from being a student. Okay, I'm logged out successfully. Now let's come over here and let's go for Peter register probably maximum courses, maybe 4 or 5. Okay, let's done. So let me copy this and let's come to my route over here and let me provide this and let me connect. Now you will see all the object that the Peter has gone 1 2 3 4. Yeah, I said 4, so 4 data it has generated, and that's what you are getting to see from here. The courses based on the professor who has logged in, that courses is been passed to the serializer so that it can be converted from Python dictionary, which is basically like the data was in the form of SQL. Just a second. Yeah, the data was in the form of SQL that can convert into JSON object, and finally the serialized data has been sent back, and you are seeing a very nice JSON data. You are seeing it. Great. So there is also another professor called Kabir. So let me log out from here and let me log in as Kabir, and let's see. Kabir has registered only one course and logged out successfully. Let's come over here. Let me go for Kabir and let's go for the send button. Yes, let's come over here. Let me copy this. Let's come over here now and let me give it over here, and let's see. Kabir has got only one. Great. So that's how that's how we are saying that the endpoint my course is been confined to the specific professor, right? But if you want to see all courses without any specific professor, that was this particular route. That is only courses which we have already got over here. So irrespective of whichever user, I mean whichever professor it is, this is not based on any specific professor. Paste this one, you will be able to see all the courses based on Peter as well as Kabir. See, 4 courses, 1 2 3 4 have been registered by Peter, and the 5th one and the previous one has been registered by Kabir. You are seeing all. Great. So both like irrespective of professor, that is also there, specific to the professor, that is also there, right? Okay, now let's come to the one where you're performing an update operation. Patch, you're going to perform an update, right? So when you're performing an update, how is this endpoint going to be? Now this is very interesting. Edit a course only by the professor who created it. So definitely the credential of the professor will also be validated to see whether that professor is the one who created it. So again, we have to first logged in. You will get the data of the courses. Where from you are getting the course data? Because you have already serialized, so from there you're getting the course data. The user who has logged in, I will get the user details. I will first check whether the user is a professor or not, of course, and then I'm going to check what? I'm going to check that whether that professor is the one who has actually created the course or not. That's what we are going to check it. Okay. This is to perform update, right? This is the one to perform update. Great. So while you're performing update, you definitely need to give the ID of the course that you are going to update, isn't it? And so let's move on. So let's come to the let me close this one. Yes, saved it, and let's open the collection folder again, and we are going for update. We are going to update just the title. Let's consider we are going to update the title. We saw already over here that which course Kabir has created. Kabir has created the course called Java. So I will just want to add it as a core Java, and already Kabir is logged in. So I will just come over here. I will go to the header. I will just paste the bearer token over here. Paste it. Great. And now I come to this body, and instead of writing Java, I will make it as a core Java, and now I will pass the save option. You can only update your own course. Okay, why? I forgot. Let me. Who has logged in? Kabir has logged in, and Kabir has gone for Java, but I don't know why it is saying. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me log out. Let me log out again. Let me log out first. So let me copy this access token that is there for Kabir. Copy this. Let's come over here. Let's go and log out. Okay, great. Now let me log in again by Kabir. Yes, I have logged in. So let me copy this. Let's copy this. Let's come over here and let me come to the header. Let me paste that one. Okay, great. And let me now and the patches. Okay, I forgot this ID was, I did not give the ID, sorry, it was my mistake. So over here, what was the ID? The ID was 5, right? So that ID I have to give, right? I did not give the ID. So previously also it would have worked. I missed out the ID. That's the reason it did not work. So now I will go for this, and now it says yes, you have successfully able to update it. Right? Okay. Now let's come over here and let's reload it. I forgot to give the ID. So as I do that, irrespective of whichever user it is, so let me paste that again, and now let's run it, and you will see that Java gets changed to Core Java. Yes. So whenever you are updating it, since I went for updating, so you need to give the ID of the course which you want to update, right? Otherwise how it will be updated. And since I went for like only one of the attribute I updated, so that's the reason I went for patch. It's a partial update, not the entire object been updated, so I went for the patch. So that's how the perform update is working. And we saw over here that while perform update, again just see how the beautiful default router is. None of this endpoint I created, automatically this point is getting created. Okay, that's great. So last we have got one more function that is going to be for the part of student, the student who is going to enroll it. Okay, so the student has to log. Okay, so before I get into this, I just want to see the table what the student enrollment has been. So there is a student who has enrolled for course number 2. So who is student number 2? So let's go and check this. Student number 2 is student number, sorry, this is not the word, the course, just let me see once again. So this is course number 2, course number 2. This is the table enrollment, right? So ID is 1, course name is, course ID is 2, and student ID is 2. Okay, so student ID being 2, but if I go to my user, okay, sorry, this is my ID. Sorry, I was seeing this one, that's the reason. Sorry, this is the row number. The ID is 2, right? The ID is 2 is actually John, right? Yeah, John is a student. Perfect. So John is a student whose ID is 2, and John has registered which course? Let me see that course. The course ID is 2. So let's come to the course. The course ID is 2, means C for the beginners. Great. We also have got one more student, right? We also have student that is Suzanne is a student. Susan is a, Tim is also a student, the Tim, right? So we would try to log with Tim and we'll do the registration. The Tim ID is 6. Okay, great. So let's come over here. So I'm now, sorry, my mistake. So let's come to my Postman. So let's go and log out first. So let's come over here. Let me give this and let's log out. Yeah, you have logged out. And let's come to the post, give the email as Tim. So let's log in now, and Tim is a user, I mean student. So let's copy this. If you still have a doubt whether Tim is a student or not, we have this endpoint where we can check the detail about the user. So as I do that, so it will show me that yes, Tim is a student. Great. So student can register the course. So let's come to my collection and let's go for register. Okay, so what was the function? Let's see over here. See, it's called enroll, and while enrolling, what I have to give? I have to give the ID. See, student enroll in a course. So which particular course the student want to enroll, that course ID I have to give along with the endpoint. So let's come over here now. So I have a route over here, see course, and in this course I have to mention the endpoint. So already I have got the course detail. So suppose I want to say that I want to enroll him for the ID 4. that is C++, right? So I am coming over here. First I have to log in, so let's come over here, let's give the token yes. So Tim has been done, and let's come over here. So the Tim is going to be enrolled for the course 4, right? So what does this mean? It says that detail true means you have to provide the ID. The type is post, as we saw over here. This is the type post, perfect. And the permission class, that it has to be only student, as we see over here. The custom permission I have created, that yes, it has to be authenticated, the role has to be student, great. And now we are getting the course detail. After we have done this query, say the course detail will come over here. The user who has logged in, that information is over here. We are checking that whether the student has already taken that course or not. If it has been already taken, it will say enrolled. Otherwise it will create a new instance based on the course and the student, and then it will say enrolled successfully. That's what we are going to see as expected. So let's run over here now. I click on this, enrolled successful, great. So if I now try to resave it again, it is not permissible because you are already enrolled, and that's what you are seeing right over here, already enrolled. So now if I go to my table, and if I come to my enrollment, and if I go for reload, I will be seeing the course ID 4 has been enrolled by the user student whose ID is 6. So if you come to the user, the ID 6 is the Tim that who got registered, and the course, if you come at the course was 4, which I did for C++, that course has been registered for the given student, right? So we saw how exactly the different routes are getting created with the help of default router, and default router is mapped with the model view set. The model view set is working on the custom permission, and this custom permission is based on the user which we have created, and those users were created all in my last video where we saw 2 different users getting created. One was a professor and a student. So at the end of the day, you can figure out that how JWT is important, because JWT is ensuring whether the user is authenticated or not, whether the user is of type professor or not. That's authentication taking place, and we are also checking the permission, what the permission of the user is. So this is all done by this authentication class and permission class. I hope this particular video, if you thoroughly go through it minutely, maybe twice or thrice you have to go through it, then definitely how to implement custom permission using base permission from DRF will be crystal clear to you. Okay, so that's all from this video presentation. See you soon. Bye bye.